Before joining the commission, Carl had been a leading advocate for taxpayers at the Kansas State House with the Kansas Taxpayers Network for 16 years. Carl is a supporter of voter empowerment by requiring voter approval of taxes, protecting citizens from eminent domain abuse, and backs term limits. He's a family man, lives in West Wichita with his wife and 2 children, and from personal experience, I think he is the most courteous gentleman I have ever met. Carl?
Thank you, John. One little correction. I was on the Wichita Independent Business Association board, but I left that a number of years ago. I want to thank everyone for this kind of introduction and the opportunity to talk about briefly my friend and introduce my friend Todd Tiahrt, because I have known Todd for over 2 decades. When I was beginning my efforts on behalf of taxpayers at the Kansas State House, Todd was a freshman state senator, and I remember well some of the frustrations that I had, and I want to share one of the experiences because it's been overlooked, but I think it's indicative of a man, and I want to share that with you this afternoon because often people go along up in Topeka, but there was a bill to come up because of a court case that basically forced the Kansas legislature and the Senate in particular to vote on raising property taxes. And there were less than 15 members of the entire legislature and only 2 senators who refused to vote to raise property taxes. And I want to publicly commend Todd for being one of those handful of legislators to stand with taxpayers at that time. And of course, he stood with them quite a bit since then too. A second story. I want to share is a little bit more personal, and in 2008 I won the primary against a 4-term incumbent, and after that primary election there was a lot of controversy about my candidacy for the Sedgwick County Commission in District 3, and there were a lot of folks in my party, the Republican Party, who basically didn't want anything to do with my candidacy at that time. But I could count on Todd Tiahrt. Todd was with me. Todd supported me. I have been honored to have him as my congressman in the past. I have been honored that he has been a constituent of mine in the 3rd District in the Sedgwick County Commission. So without further ado, it is my honor and privilege to introduce Todd Tiahrt. Thank you for that warm reception. I'd like to thank Zoe Newton for emceeing the event. I appreciate you coming up from the stage. And David Diane Newman driving all the way from Colorado Springs. I know every route that you can drive between here and Colorado Springs. Every other week for 14 months, back and forth. I also want to thank Carl Peter John for those kind words. It's great fighting with you, Carl, over the years. I appreciate it very much. I also want to thank Lon Smith and the Kansas Aviation Museum for allowing us to use their open space here.
We moved in from the outside because there was too much wind out there and there wasn't enough in here, so we started a fan up for you. We have some current and future friends here from Mr. Pompeo's office. I want to welcome them as well. Tony Porter's here, and my new friend J.R. Morgan is also here. J.R. has the significant honor of videoing more events than I've been able to attend. So please make sure that I just have one chin before you show that video to your boss, okay? But we appreciate them being here as well. I'm pleased that I'm joined by my wife Vicki and a couple of... She pointed out to me that we have a couple of elected officials here that I want to thank. Representative Cash Kelly in the back. And my friend Les Hoffman, Representative Les Hoffman here. Appreciate you all being here. It's great to have friends here to support us on this event. Vicki and I have shared a lot with this community. We've shared our good times and our bad times. And we're deeply connected to Kansas by our heritage, by our experience, by our home here in West Sedgwick County, where I've now been paying property taxes for 33 years. And we're deeply connected to you, the people of Kansas. I believe that you know me. You know how hard I worked for this district. And it's been some time ago when I was first elected as a representative for the 4th District of Kansas. Over the 16 years that I was in office, I worked hard, we worked hard, together to build a better community, a better state, one with better opportunity for ourselves and our children. So you know me. You know how hard we worked together to face many challenges. While I was in office, farmers were able to expand the type of crops that they grow and start growing cotton. And we watched commodity prices increase and new businesses start in the agricultural economy, business economy. You know me, and you know how we work together to build strong aircraft companies. Whether it was a new taxiway at the airport for the Cessna Service Center, or additional work for Boeing here at the Modification Center just right next door, or the Compass Rose Instrumentation Suite for Bombardier so they can move their flight test program from Canada to Wichita, or Beechcraft trainers to the Navy and the United States Air Force. You know me. You know how hard we work together to repeal the Wright Amendment so we could have lower airfares flying in and out of Wichita. And I could go on and on about what we accomplished, but I want you to know that it was a team effort. You, me, this district, we pulled together and we overcome our disappointments. And we improved our opportunities. Over the past year, mostly starting last September, I began receiving phone calls and emails asking me to once again leave the private sector and run for office. Vicki and I have been weighing a lot of the costs and discussing the options. In 2011, after leaving office, I had several lobbying firms contact me and asking me to become a lobbyist. I still get those offers, but I chose not to lobby. Instead, I came back to Wichita to start a business, to help companies and individuals get through federal regulations, to help people navigate through the jungle of the federal government. This business has been very good to us. I also had the freedom to help out my friends like Dr. David Newman, who was so kind to come here today. And that was a great experience. However, I have to tell you, it's a long drive between here and Colorado Springs, 8 hours one way. Vicki and I talked about the congressional seat. We decided that in our republic form of government, no one inherits a seat. No one has... called congressman. It's contract labor. it's a 2-year contract with the people of the 4th District. It has to be earned. For every 2 years, the bosses, you voters, the bosses have to decide whether to renew the contract for someone or look for someone that has more experience and a better track record. Now, if you're happy with the way things are going in Washington, D.C., or in South Central Kansas, then by all means, vote for the incumbent. Personally, I'm not happy with what's going on in Washington, D.C.
That's right.
And I'm very disappointed about what's been happening here in the 4th District of Kansas. And Vicki and I also discussed the big policy differences that I have between myself and our congressman. In Syria, Mr. Pompeo went on the national media to convince his colleagues that just bombing Syria wasn't enough. He went to the White House to convince the president for more aggressive action. Neither sides in Syria are our friends. They both hate us.
That's right.
And I believe that Mr. Pompeo's ideas would only have strengthened Al-Qaeda. And I've listened to you here in Kansas, and I know that you stand with me on Syria. And I'm greatly concerned at Mr. Pompeo's unyielding support for the NSA listening to our phone calls and reading our emails. Even after the NSA itself has acknowledged that it has violated our 4th Amendment rights. Again, our congressman went to the national media to defend this unacceptable big government intrusion into our privacy. I know that you stand with me in opposition to the violation of our constitutional rights. Now, most of you aren't aware of this. Most Kansans don't know of Mr. Pompeo's financial support for Obamacare. Now, I said that correctly. Our congressman voted to fund Obamacare. Now, if you were to ask him, is he for Obamacare, I'm sure that he will tell you he's not, and that he has voted time and time and time again to repeal Obamacare. I guess he was against it before he was for it. When Obamacare was on the floor of the House, I spent 12 hours fighting that legislation. My own congressional leadership came to me and said, "Why are you trying to delay this? They have the votes, just give up." I haven't given up even today.
That's right.
I fought in committee to defund Obamacare. I fought on the floor of the House, and I believe that we need health care reform. We just don't need Obamacare.
That's right.
So I was very disappointed to see what I had worked so hard against, funded by Mr. Pompeo, not once, not twice, but 7 times. From what I've heard from the people here in Kansas, you stand with me
That's
on
right.
Obamacare. I'm also opposed to Mr. Pompeo's special interest legislation. How he would block publishing of GMOs, genetically modified organics, and keep us consumers from knowing what's in the food. I'm also opposed to his bill that would prevent us from seeing consumer complaints on defective products. These big government solutions are not right for Kansas and not right for America. Vicki and I discussed the leadership in Washington. The way Republicans in the House have rolled over on funding for Obamacare without getting a thing, not one policy concession for all their financial support. The way leadership has given a blank check to this president to write executive orders, and to write regulations which have the force of law, even though it could never pass Congress, even when the Democrats controlled the House and the Senate. The ways Republicans have forgotten the importance of balancing the budget. I remember a balanced budget. I know how we balance the budget. It can be done again. We balanced the budget for 4 straight years with a Democrat president.
That's right.
Republican House leadership, I believe, has lost its way. And then there's our local economy. Today we have half the airplane companies that we had when I left office. We've lost at least 5,000 jobs in the aircraft industry, and more layoffs are coming. We are standing next to an empty parking lot just down the street where Boeing jobs once were. Like me, there are other former Boeing employees here, and it grieves us that our company has left Wichita. We also lost another 1,500 jobs that went to Brazil when the Pentagon overlooked Beechcraft and outsourced the light attack aircraft plane to Brazil. Now, many of you remember when the Pentagon outsourced our air refueling tankers. It was a hard battle. It was a battle that we fought together, but we got those jobs back to America.
That's right.
It wasn't just us Republicans. We reached out and included Democrats in the process. We went to the labor unions and brought them on board. And with your outrage and our efforts reaching across the aisle, we were successful. We got it done. But today Boeing's gone. The parking lot's empty. And there are 1,500 national security jobs that should have been at Beechcraft or Textron Aviation. Instead, they are in Brazil. Well, I believe our troops deserve better. I believe our troops deserve American products made by American workers at American companies. When the Pentagon outsourced our national security jobs to Brazil, where in the world was our congressman? Perhaps he would have failed. Perhaps he would have kept those jobs here. We will never know because he didn't even try. And I think that's what bothers me the most. When our national security jobs were outsourced to Brazil, he did not even try. So today, we have 1,500 workers in Brazil that should be in Wichita, Kansas.
That's right.
This job is about public service. It's about people. It's about their families, their hopes, their dreams. It's not about destination fundraisers at Vail, Colorado, or raising $2,000 a day from special interest PACs, or the next junket overseas. It's not about the perks of the office or the privileges of Washington, or the power to threaten someone with consequences. It's about public service. That's what I believe. And I believe I can make a positive difference because I believe you will stand with me to do just that.
That's right.
And you know me, you know that I've been endorsed by Kansas for Life every one of my previous elections, that I've been endorsed by the National Rifle Association multiple times, that I've been endorsed by every conservative group, every family group. When I ran for office, I have not changed. So if you hear any different, you need to ask them, what has changed with them? Because I'm the same person that fought for your values, your ideas, and your freedoms. You know me, and you know how hard I've worked for this district. After much thoughtful deliberation and prayer about the differences between myself and our congressmen on issues, on policies, on public service, on personalities, we decided to ask the voters to give us consideration for the next 2-year contract. So today, I'm announcing that I'm a candidate for Congress in the 4th District of Kansas.
What an exciting announcement. I know I'm psyched. Yeah. And I think he'll be around for some brief questions. Again, thank you very much.
Say that we struggled with it, yes and no, even over this last week. But it became clear this weekend that this was the right thing for us to do.
What was the struggle?
Well, I really am enjoying my time away from Congress, and I'm doing well with my business. But I have this call in my heart, I guess, for public service. And I am very disappointed with what's been going on in Washington, how they have really, I think, ignored the American public. So I feel compelled to run, and I think it's the right thing for us to do.
I thought Vicki maybe was against it.
Vicki has been a little hot and cold, but she, as you saw today, she's in this for a penny and in it for a pound.
What do you think this past weekend? You said this past weekend was just like, you realized you had to make a decision on it.
Yeah. Well, it was a Memorial Day weekend. Okay. We drove down to Oklahoma to see family, and on our way, you know, the conversation back and forth was how we solidified the decision.
Oh, okay. All right. So it was you and Vicki just together?
Yeah.
You know,
You're in the car.
Your opponent, last report I saw, had $2.3 million in cash. You, of course, closed out your campaign fund. How are you going to finance this race?
Well, that's a good question. I'm willing to take any contributions you guys may have. But we have set up an account, and we're going to raise money. We have about $1,000, and maybe slightly less than $1,000 in there now. But we haven't really opened our website. Will be open this afternoon at Tiahrt.com, and they can make donations online. But we really haven't received any money. I have to complete all the paperwork, so I haven't been able to really take checks yet. But I'm confident that we can raise enough money to get the voice out, to get our voice, our ideas heard. I don't need $2.3 million. I can do it for significantly less. But I do think I have the ability to raise money. I had a considerable amount of donations during the Senate campaign. We've got a long history of people supporting me financially. And they like the ideas that we're talking about. Balancing the budget, making our economy stronger, making sure that we support our constitutional rights. These are fundamental values that Kansans believe in, and they're willing to support that with their pocketbooks.
The NSA, you know it's an uphill battle, right? Because it's a sitting congressman is...
Yeah, it's probably an uphill battle, but I'm confident in the people of Kansas. I think that they understand that I listen to them. I've been in Pratt, Kansas more times than my congressman has. I've been to St. John and Greensburg and some of those places, and I've listened to these people. And they are very concerned about what's been going on, and they're very concerned that no one's been listening to them and taking their ideas to Washington, D.C. So the grassroots support is out there, and now they have someone to rally with, and I believe I can build enough confidence to get them to vote for me, and I believe I can raise enough money to get the message out. And I think we have the right ideas and the right personality for this to be successful.
You're running against the Republicans. You must really, feel strongly against what the fans want.
Well, I tried to government ideas that he claims he doesn't support, but yes, imposes on us through GMO labeling and through keeping consumer complaints from being available to the public. So there are some very significant policy differences, but there's also some personality differences as well. I listen to people. He likes to jet set around. In fact, I would challenge you to look at his passport. These jobs or these trips that he takes aren't registered anywhere where the public can see, but they are on his passport. And he's been flying around at our expense, taxpayer expense, and we should be able to expect to see what we've been spending our money on. So that should be open information. So I would challenge you to find it, to ask him for his passport and just see where he's been, because I don't know. I know I tried to meet with him earlier, and he had to cancel our meeting twice because he was out of the country, once in Africa and once in Ukraine. So he told me that he had to do all this traveling because of his job. And what I thought at that time is, what about our jobs? What about the 1,500 jobs that are in Brazil now? What about the jobs of the people that are going to be laid off? And he's fighting for us here while you're jet setting around the globe. So where is his passport? Where has he been? And I think that's a fair question. You know, it's taxpayer money.
What about the cuts in military pay?
Well, I'm disappointed in how he tried to cut $500 million out of research and development. And that's how
the lower end guys, he made a statement about the generals need to pay cut. I mean, typical politicians now, so we don't care about the generals.
Yeah, when I first was elected, we had members of the military on food stamps. We fought hard to get their pay up. They need to be paid well for the job they do because they defend our freedom. And more so, we need to take care of them when they come back. This travesty with what's going on with the VA is the responsibility of Congress. They have oversight. They're the ones that haven't been carrying their weight. And so our veterans have suffered. So it's not just the salary, it's also the veterans that have been suffering. And we need to do something about that. It's time to hold a very vocal public hearings. I want to let you know that our local VA, while I was there, I thought they did a very good job. I would visit them periodically, and they have a good volunteer structure, and they did very well.
Since then, I heard the story that they have an unsanctioned list that is starting an investigation.
Well, I'm glad you've uncovered it, because if there is any unsanctioned list of the VA, that needs to be made public. We're talking about our veterans now.
One last question.
Well, I think for me, I'm more of a people person. I like meeting with people. I like going out to the district. I like helping, for example, the commissioners in Harvey County with their Sand Creek problem. I like being in Butler County working with the commissioners on their levee problem. In Cowley County on their levee problem. You know, we haven't had a flood since 1996 in Winfield, Arch City, or in Augusta, and it was because we were able to work with them, earmark money to make sure that those ideas became a reality. In Cowley County, those drawings have been on the drawing boards at the Army Corps of Engineers for 25 years, and I had to reprioritize money to make them build those levees. But now we've saved millions of dollars by not having floods down there, even though we've had significant rains from one time or another. So there's these things are important, and I think it's that we keep in touch with them. And I think that's where I'm a lot different. I like people, and I don't see him out. And I'm told that he's not out in the county, but he is meeting with people here locally. He likes telephone town hall meetings. Well, a telephone town hall meeting is where you call a bunch of numbers, somebody gets on, you filter the calls, so you don't have to take any tough questions. You answer about 5 or 6 questions in an hour, and then you move on. That's not meeting people, that's not looking them in the eye, that's not reading their body language, that's not hearing their problems. So there's a difference in the way that we look at how we do the job and the personality it takes to complete that. All right. Thank you very much for coming.